What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back for some more Fire Emblem Heroes. This time I'm going to be taking a look at the Pirate Pride banner, which includes Pirate Tibarn, Brigid, Geese, and also Pirate Harmonized Veronica and Xander, and also Darros as our Tempest trial reward. So I'm going to be reviewing these units and also going to be providing you guys with some builds for these units. So with that said, let us begin. The first unit we have, and probably the star of this banner, is Pirate Tibarn, and that's for a good reason because he's a colorless flyer who can have 3 movement because of his beast condition, and his Sky Pirate Claw is just such a strong weapon. So he's got insanely high base 41 attack, which is absolutely amazing for heavy blade triggering, and he also has a super boon on that, so that itself is really fantastic. He also has pretty good defense and HP, so he can definitely take some physical hits. And his weapon gives him -1 special cooldown, and if he's alone and not near any kind of ally, then he grants himself +5 attack and -5 attack on the foe during the combat, and also gets a guaranteed follow-up attack. So he essentially gets +10 attack for the heavy blade triggering, which is insane with his already high attack stat, and the automatic follow-up is really good because he doesn't really care about his speed. Although null follow-up is just going to be ruining Tibarn as he'll not be able to make the guaranteed follow-up attack. He comes with a new skill, Dive Bomb, and Dive Bomb is basically a reverse desperation where it will work if you're above 80% HP. So it's definitely pretty interesting. And his main comparison is going to be his original self. He's very identical to his red version, but like completely he just outclasses Red Tibarn in my opinion when it comes to being a reliable Gale Force unit. They both have the same issues where they get ruined by null follow-up, where they might just one-shot some kind of unit instead of Gale Forcing onto them with 2 hits. But colorless is really good because you don't really have any kind of weapon strangle disadvantage except for Raven Tomes, so you could Gale Force against blue threats, which Red Tibarn will struggle against. But similarly, you could make a point that Red Tibarn does use his color to face threats like Brave Ike and something like Ether Raids, so their red color is definitely going to be useful. But overall, the pros of colorless Tibarn is definitely going to be outweighing the cons. So yeah, Pirate Tibarn is simply just a much better reliable Gale Force unit because he gets -1 special cooldown, Gale Force becomes a 4-turn special, he already comes with Heavy Blade 4 and Dive Bomb, and he gets guaranteed follow-up attack in both phases. Red Tibarn only gets it in player phase, so at least colorless Tibarn can have something going on in the enemy phase against physical threats. So yeah, Pirate Tibarn is absolutely fantastic unit and one of the best beast units in the game in my opinion. And Dive Bomb can be used as a fodder actually. It's really good on units like Elincia, on Cordelia, and Catra who can get quad attacks. It's also pretty nice on Mini Nerva actually because she doesn't really have too many slot B options, and she's quite fast, so she could definitely make use of this with something like Ether. And you could also use this on a dragon like Lilith, so it is available on Flying Dragons, so that's really good. It's only like available for physical flyers and dragons, that's it. It's not available for range units. Duo Pala is just absolutely disgusting with this skill because she can quad attack without the enemy even counter attacking her once, and her attack is insanely high. So if you have her on a proper Fire Emblem team, then she's gonna be absolutely absurd and just a delete button in my opinion. So Tibarn provides really nice fodder. He is also a fantastic unit himself, and there's really not much you have to do to build him up. He already comes with a pretty nice base kit. You could go with Death Blow, and if you want to invest more into him for something like Ether Raids, then you would need to run what you would run on the Red Tibarn because Impact skill is just so important to idiot-proof your defense team because the AI will simply just throw units at the other tanks. So Impact kind of protects you from that as the enemy does not get a follow-up attack, and he's going to be absolutely insane with Lunge and how powerful he is. Red Tibarn is kind of known for that in Ether Raids. Colorless Tibarn can do the same thing and just be a threat, but as I said, Red Tibarn could be a bit nice to check Brave Ike, who is so common. So there, like, colorless Tibarn isn't really going to be having a weapon strangle advantage. We don't really get too many Axe Cavaliers in this game. The last Axe Cavalier which we got was in 2018 in form of Wallheart. So after 2 years, we finally got Veronica as an Axe Cavalier with Xander. So she's got Gate Anchor Axe, and this gives her -1 special cooldown, and if she's not near any kind of ally, she gets +5 defense and resistance, and also inflicts -5 defense and resistance on foe, and she gets a guaranteed follow-up attack. So again, null follow-up has to be mentioned whenever these kinds of auto follow-up weapons are mentioned. -5 resistance could be nice to decrease the iceberg or glacis damage of some foe. But yeah, overall this is a pretty solid weapon. The -1 special cooldown definitely makes her quite flexible, and her stat spread is quite unique for an Axe Cavalier. I mean, we don't really have many to begin with, and this is like a high attack, high bulk, and extremely low speed type of stat spread. And she also has a super boon in attack and HP. Attack is definitely much more important. So she doesn't really care about her speed. She can get the auto doubles. She can be a fantastic Guild Force unit. She can trigger Bonfire, Ignis, and stuff like that. And she can be overall extremely bulky. So pretty amazing unit that we have got. Her Harmonized skill basically gives +4 defense and resistance to Fates and Heroes unit. And they also get the effect where the enemy cannot make a follow-up attack. And this is really good for Resonant Battles actually if you do manage to get her, because enemies there have insane speed and they will absolutely double you. So this kind of Harmonized skill is definitely going to be making things easy for you. And she's a cavalry unit, and that's really amazing class type for Resonant Battles, where she's mainly going to be helping you getting more score and having better rankings, so you'll be able to go up to more intervals and get better rewards. So that's basically the point of Resonant or Harmonized Heroes, I guess, to sell them for Resonant Battles. But even outside of that, she's a very strong and unique unit. As for her builds, you could just run a budget build with Speed Res Bond. It's just going to be giving her nice bulk, pairs up really nice with the solo skill that she's got and her weapon. You could also run Heavy Blade with her high attack and have Ignis so that she can trigger that in a single round of combat. And as I said, she could be made into a Gale Force unit because of the -1 special cooldown condition. And yeah, she can be triggering Heavy Blade quite easily. You could use her in Ether Raid's defense as well as a lunge trap. So she is quite bulky and she can get the Gale Force done even against range units who might not have close counter or anything like that. So she can trigger Gale Force against those units as well, where someone like Ellie would, who's really popular, would need Quicken Pulse instead. And Veronica can also run Heavy Blade 4 from Duo Ephraim and Slade to get the true damage. And finally, if you do get her to +10 merge, then you could just run a distant counter build. I don't know why it says budget Gale Force. That's +10 merge is definitely not budget, so that's just a prank, trust me. Brigid is Red Infantry Archer, and she's got Helm Bow Plus, which basically has a solo lull effect, which gives -5 debuffs on stats of foes, and it also neutralizes foes' bonuses on those stats. So -5 is really nice compared to -3, and this can be stacked up with lull skills and stuff like that. Though I would advise that if you're stacking this up with the lull skill, don't just stack up with like lull speed defense. Run like lull attack speed so that you could also neutralize buffs to the attack of the foe. So this way you'll be able to neutralize buffs to 3 stats. So I would definitely do that. And her stat spread is also really nice. She is extremely offensive with 37 base attack and 40 base speed, which is really fast with a speed super boon. So she is a completely offensive player face archer mainly, and she also comes with steady impact, which we did see in Blazing Durandal's Weapon Refine. And her fodder is also really good. You could inherit Pulse Smoke and Harsh Command Plus at the same time, or Steady Impact at the same time. And Pulse Smoke is of course top tier in Ether Raids because Infantry Pulse teams are just so common. Her main competition is going to be Green, as it is for any kind of seasonal red archer. So Green is, even though like she's slower than Brigid, she's still going to be better because she gets -1 special cooldown from Guardian's Bow, and she also gets the in-combat debuff on the foe quite easily to 3 of their stats compared to what Brigid can do. And she doesn't really have the lull condition, but she could easily run that and just be as strong. So that preferred weapon definitely helps her, but Brigid is not really all that far off when it comes to being offensive. It's just that she slightly misses the mark because of not having a preferred weapon, but she's also quite good. So she can definitely be foddered off for Helmbow as well. This could be mainly useful in flying archers because they don't have access to lull skills. But a lot of times it's just going to be facing competition from Spendthrift Bow, which just gives you so much bulk and so much attack. So that's always going to be a competition from the normal summoning pool. As for her builds, you could build a budget build with just having Deathblow and Desperation. She already is extremely fast. And you want to run Bonfire, don't want to run Luna or Moonbow because Helm's Bow is going to be reducing the defense of the foe. So it's really counterproductive to have a special that works on the defense of the foe. Glimmer similarly can be used as well with Flashing Blade, and because of her high speed, she could be made into a quad archer with a Brave Bow. Because of the solo condition of her bow, where she could get the lull effect, you could just run some rouse skills and solo skills to synergize with that. And she could also be used as a rally trap unit in ether raids with her impact skill, because she already comes with that. And she can just hit very hard with a bonfire. And you could also use her just like Igreen, because she does have pretty high attack. So a special spiral build is going to be really nice for clearing a lot of the in-game content with just 3 dancers. Even at like +1 merch, she's going to be very strong. And finally, because of her high speed, she could easily run Fire Sweep Bow and have lull speed defense. It could stack up with Helm Bow as well if you do decide to run it. Geese is the 4-star focus unit of this banner, and that means that you could easily plus and merge him compared to the other new gen Lance Infantry units who would take you thousands of orbs. And here's the math for that. So on average, you would need around like 500 orbs to plus and merge him. Because he's a 4-star focus, so that could be a really good thing because he is really strong. He has got high 38 base attack, he has got workable speed at 35, and not that bad of a defense and quite high HP. So he's basically like a blue Soleil if you want to say that, because they are quite similar with their stat spread but different weapons. And unlike Soleil, Geese doesn't have that much competition. We are pretty short on Lance Infantries. His weapon Flowing Lance follows the similar trend of Helm Bow, where it has got a lull skill that requires you to be solo, and this lull skill gives him -5 attack defense debuff on foe and just neutralizing their buffs on them. I wish this was speed instead of attack, because that would have been perfect for him. It's kind of similar to Helm Bow. His fodder is mainly going to be Infantry Pelts and Flowing Lance, so if you're short on Maristas, you don't really have to spend grails together for that fodder, and Geese could be used for that. Flowing Lance is also pretty good. It could be run on cavalry units like Conrad or Ferdinand, and of course on flying units who don't really have access to lull skills, so they could definitely make use of that. And as for Geese, these are some of the budget builds for him. You could run him in player phase with this budget build, good old Fury Desperation, or just make him a fast tank with speed res solo and sturdy stance. And then at max investment, if you do decide to plus and merge him, you could definitely run a damage reduction skill in slot B and just use rouse speed defense from Ferdinand. And speed res solo is absolutely fantastic with these kinds of weapons, so he could be a very strong tank in the enemy phase. He could also be used as a Gale Force unit because of his high attack stat. It does make it pretty easy to trigger Heavy Blade, and you could just run solo skills and have rouse speed defense from Ferdinand quite easily, and run a Flashing Blade build to trigger Glimmer whenever he's in the Desperation range. And you could stack this up with lull attack speed, so he can neutralize stats of the foe in 3 stats, which is attack speed and defense, with his weapon and slot B. And he can actually stack up the lull attack with the weapon to get -8 attack debuff on the foe, which is really good with his HP and defense. And you could also use him in Arena as a score bot because he does reach 175 BST after his +1 merge. So you could either use Berkut Lance to increase his resistance, because you're going to be facing a lot of dragons and also mages there, so you could use that with Roost skill. And you shouldn't be running Flowing Lance in Arena in my opinion, because you need to be staying close to your allies, you know, using rally skills and stuff like that. So Guild Fork in my opinion is just better. And if you're on a budget, you could easily run Berkut Lance, but Guild Fork is definitely really good. And he could run Null Follow Up because of a high speed and definitely get a lot of mileage out of that against these armor units with fighter skills. And finally, he could be used in ether raids as a super tank with a damage reduction skill, or Null Follow Up in a slot B and have distant counter, Pulse Smoke at max investment. So there he also finds his use. The Tempest trial unit we have this time is gonna be Darros. He's definitely quite disappointing. His art and voice acting is top tier, but as a unit he doesn't really stand out whatsoever. His weapon is Dex Swapper Plus, which is same as Flowing Lance, gives you -5 attack and defense debuff on the foe if you're solo, and you also neutralize their visible buffs to those stats. So it is definitely a pretty nice toy for a lot of units to use, because as a unit he doesn't really stand out, because I mean, he is basically Ross, who is not having that much attack or resistance and is slightly bulky in the defensive department, and that is really not enough because he takes 2700 rails to plus and merge. He has access to no IVs, so at max investment Ross is gonna be having like way more attack than him because of his IVs, and Ross can also go with plus speed IV and also plus resistance IV, which is a super boon too. So Ross just has so much flexibility, and he doesn't take rails to plus and merge. And you should be using your rails to plus and merge more unique units which are not present in 3-star 4-star pool personally. So there is really no reason to build him up to plus 10 in my personal opinion, unless you really like his art and his voice acting. And he is voiced by Pro ZD, so a lot of people are definitely going to be investing into him because of that. But sadly, he doesn't really stand out too much as a unit himself. And as a fodder, Dex Wobber Plus is definitely the thing. Earth Boost are just, these boost skills are Omega trash basically. And Odd Defense Wave, we have got that so many times. So this weapon is the only new toy that he gives you. You could run this on someone like Echidna. Again, Speed Res Solo has fantastic synergy with this. Could run this on flyers as well, because they don't have access to Lult skills, and Har is shafted too. Titania is quite shafted as well, despite having a preferred weapon, so she could just run solo skills and rouse skills and make use of this. So this weapon could be used on those kinds of units, and it's a pretty neat toy. I like how we have been getting a lot of really nice axes, so that is pretty fantastic, but I just wish we got different kinds of axe infantry units. So if you just want to build him up for a budget build, you could go with the first or the second build, just an enemy face build, or you could just give him Brave Axe because his attack is definitely pretty useful in Arena Assault, I guess, with a breaker skill and double death blow. He could definitely pack a punch. And if you want to invest plus 10 merch into him, then you could run a build like this with Huge Fan, and he could instantly retaliate back with Ignis. And a disencounter build is also possible, even though his resistance isn't the best. Keep in mind, Dex Wobber does give -5 attack debuff on the foe, and if you combine this with Speed Res Solo and some team support, then he could definitely be workable with a disencounter build. And of course, because of his BST, he could be used as a score bot, but this is going to be a very expensive score bot, and like even after 2-3 years, whenever these units get weapon refines, Darros is not going to be getting that. Ross might get that, Mustafa might get that, and even Echidna might get that. So that could help them in arena scoring, but not someone like Darros, who's a Tempest trial unit. So that is going to be the review of this banner. Keep in mind, Choose Your Legends 4 is going to be coming this month, and it is definitely going to be happening around like 18th August, I think, because that's when we'll be getting a new update. So Choose Your Legends 4 is right around the corner, so it's smarter to wait and see what Choose Your Legends 4 offers before summoning on this banner. This banner does have some good stuff like Pirate Tibarn and Veronica, who's a rare Axe Cavalier, and Geese is also a pretty nice merge project at +10 because of being a 4-star focus. But still, as I said, you should definitely hold off before you summon on this banner and wait for Choose Your Legends. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support. If you enjoyed, then please be sure to leave a like and a comment, helps me tremendously. And be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as Veronica and Tibarn's weapon against null follow-up. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.